Hey, what's up everyone? This is Jeremy and welcome to my video series, How Do You Work This Thing Pro Tools Edition. And this video is going to be about how to import audio and import video. So let's get right to it. So let's open our session, which for us is my first session saved right on the desktop. So I'm going to do that, double click it, go through the whole rigmarole of it opening the software. And there we go. So this is essentially what our session looked like last time, but to me, it's a little bit too cluttered, and I essentially just want to delete all these tracks. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to highlight this top track, hold down Shift, and then hit the bottom track. So that's going to highlight everything. So essentially, whenever you do that and hold down Shift, it's going to select the range in between your first click and your last click. So if you can see, all of these tracks are now highlighted. So there's sort of, instrument 3, instrument 4, instrument 5, and they have a white background instead of like a grayish background. So let's delete these tracks. So I'm going to select any of the tracks that I have highlighted, right click, and I'm going to hit delete. And that just deletes it. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. And there's other ways, but I think that's the fastest. So let's import some audio. So again, there's always a couple ways to import audio, but let's do it this way first. So let's hit File, Import, and then Audio. You can also import audio by hitting Shift, Command, and I. So again, the shortcuts are really going to help you in the future, but let's just do it this way and click audio. So now it's going to ask you, well, what audio do you want to import? And this is sort of generic for a Mac. It's going to give you all of your folders on your desktop and anywhere else you have them. But essentially, I download a lot of the audio that I actually need to import, mainly because clients will send me things and then I download them from like Dropbox or from G Drive or something like that, and they basically just live in my downloads folder. So I'm going to find my downloads folder, which is going to be right down here under favorites. So downloads all the way on the left-hand side. And then this is basically a mishmash of all the crap I have in my downloads folder. So pay not a ton of attention to it. It's really just a stockpile of files. But let's just import something. So all of these files with a musical note next to them are audio files. If it's a .wav, as you can see here, that's an audio file. You don't want to import folders. In fact, I don't think you can import folders. So let's just import this file right here, which is called 5 Before Dare to Say. So essentially, I have a client in which we do a daily, basically a weekly announcement video, and that's all this is going to be. It's just going to be two talking heads talking at the camera, but this is just going to be the audio file from the camera. So highlight it. Now there's a couple things you can do here. So you have the option of importing it a couple ways, and this is going to be pretty important. If you have a certain way of storing your files in a really organized fashion, then you can just add files. So what this does, when you add this file, it's going to add it to your Pro Tools session, but it's going to leave the file wherever you last had it. Okay, so the Pro Tools session is just going to reference this file, but it's not going to physically copy the file into your session. Now, this got me into a lot of trouble because I'm basically, I'm pretty disorganized, as you can kind of tell by this. And I just throw all of my crap into my downloads folder, and they'll live there for months and months and months and months. So if one day I decide to clean out my downloads folder, throw it all in the trash and just start fresh, which sometimes I do, I'll look at this and get all antsy and go like, shit, this has got to change. Let's start fresh. I'll delete all of these files. When you delete these files and you only merely added them to Pro Tools, next time you start your Pro Tools session up, it's not going to be able to reference these files because they'll be deleted off your computer, or they'll be moved, which is just as worse. And Pro Tools is going to try to find the file, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses and start from scratch. So I don't like this. So right now I have this 5 before dare to say added. We don't want that, so we're going to remove it. What we want to do is we want to copy the file. And again, when we copy it, now as we talked in, I think the second video I did, this 5 before dare to say is going to be copied into our audio folder for our Pro Tools session. So when we did the file organization video, it's going to be in that folder and it's going to copy it to it. So whenever I delete all of my downloads from my downloads folder, which I'm inevitably going to do because it gives me a lot of anxiety. I don't like having all these files right here in such a disorganized manner. When I do it, this file is still going to be copied into my session. So I can delete all these files, reopen my session months and months and months later, and the file is forever going to exist there. So this is the way to do it. I say this because I've done it the other way, and I've lost files, and it sucks, and I want to save you from that heartache. So that's that. Okay, cool. So that's how you add the files. We copied it. You can also preview the file too by hitting that. That's basically how you preview. It'll give you some things on the fader. Tells you how long the file is, gives you some other general information about the file. Nothing really too pertinent. So now that the file has been copied, I'm just going to hit done. And as you can see, Pro Tools goes through the second step after you've copied it of showing you where it's going to copy the file. So right now, it's my first session and audio files, and that can change. You can tell it to put it in different folders or different folders on your computer altogether, but audio files is generally where you're going to want it because you don't really have to think about it. So audio files, and then open. Now it's going to prompt me. What do I want to do with this audio file? Do I want to set it as a new track, which is pretty convenient. That's probably, in my opinion, well, let me put it this way. That's probably what I use the most given the type of work that I do in Pro Tools. I usually just use it as a new track because generally when I import a piece of audio, I'm going to use it right away. Now, if you don't want to use it right away, you can put it in your clips list. But let's do this a couple times and let's show you what it means. So let's just set it as a new track. So when you set it as a new track, it's just going to make a new track. This happened to be a stereo file. I'm going to make it a little bigger, again, by clicking that ruler. And here we go. Here's my audio track. So let's import the same track, but stick it in a different location. So this time I'm going to do Command-Shift-I. That's how you import audio. Again, we're in our downloads folder. I'm going to click dare to say. I'm going to copy it again just because it's a good habit to do, although I don't really necessarily need to in the same folder, but let's just do it. We're going to hit done, put that back into audio. Now this time I don't want to add a new track. I want to put it in the clip list. So what this is going to do, this is going to import the audio like it normally would, but it doesn't look like it did anything, but it actually did do something. So it added it to my clips list. So to find your clips list, you go to the bottom right-hand side of Pro Tools. It's like the hardest thing to find, but essentially there's going to be a little arrow pointing to the left, and that's going to open up your clips list. So you can hit the arrow, and then you can pretty much point your cursor in between the two windows and make it larger. So this is my clips list. So essentially when you add audio, it's always going to go into your clips list, but you can choose to also throw it onto a new track. So that's pretty much just a convenient thing. Now from the clips list, you can select it and then drag it into a stereo track or two mono tracks, whatever sort of works out for you. And for demo purposes, they were two of the same file, but it's useful for other things. So if you wanted to import, let's just say 12 different tracks, maybe they're audio tracks, or let's just say they're audio tracks, they're instruments, bass, guitar, stuff like that. But you didn't necessarily want to use them all at once. You just basically wanted to have them in your Pro Tools session. That's a good time to add them to your clips list and then sort of deal with them later. But I don't like doing that, so I'm going to click this, hit delete. I'm going to close my clips list. And there you have it. That's pretty much how you add files. So let's do this for video side of things, because video is going to be essentially, it's the same but different. It's one of those type of things. So let's do File, Import, Video, and then we're going to import this video right here. So we're going to find the video we want, hit Open. So you got a couple options here. You can start it from the start of a session, or you could select where the video actually starts. I always think the start of the session makes the most sense for what I do, so I do start of the session. And then if the video has audio embedded into it, you can also import that audio, and it's going to save it on a different track. So either or, it doesn't really matter. We'll import the audio just for the sake of you seeing what that actually does. So we're going to hit OK after we checked import audio. Now for the audio, it does the same exact thing as before as how we imported other audio and just audio. It asks you, where do you want to put the audio that's embedded into the video track? And I mean, more than 9 times out of 10, you're going to want it in that audio files folder generated by Pro Tools. So we're going to open that. We're just going to throw the audio in there. And sometimes it takes a little while for these waveforms to generate. But that's essentially how it goes. And actually, this video might even have audio in it, so pay no mind, but the theory is still the same. Now, you notice it didn't ask if I wanted to save the video in the video folder. I don't know what that is, but generally, you have to physically move your video into the automatically generated Pro Tools video folder. And it might be just a quirk on this system, but it's something that's kind of annoying because you can import a video into your session and then close your session and then delete the video, and then next time you want to actually pull up that session again, your video file is going to be missing because you had either moved the video or you deleted the video because you thought you were done with it. So just remember, you're probably going to have to move your physical video file into the Pro Tools video subfolder that it makes. Why? It makes no sense. Why do you do this? Why does it work for audio and not for video? I mean, Pro Tools has been around since the dawn of man, and this should be something that they should have fixed with an early patch. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this is just doing it for my computer. But, you know, clearly I'm not endorsed by Pro Tools. It's just the software I happen to use. But it makes no sense, and it's just like one of those infuriating little things about Pro Tools, just to screw you over just a little bit that day. Jeez. Okay. Well, that's essentially how you import audio into Pro Tools. Like, comment, and subscribe. Ask me questions. I'll definitely do my best to answer all the questions you have. And again, that gives me ideas on what the next video should be. So stay tuned for the next set. See ya.